Muchos gracias.
Yeah. Now, do you prefer hey or Jay?
No, Jay is good.
Okay.
Jay, you know, with an Italian father and a Scotch mother growing up in New England, Cinco de Mayo couldn't be more important.
So what are you saying? You don't celebrate
I
it?
never heard of it until I came here, actually. I didn't know what it was.
In Boston, they don't celebrate
No,
it?
surprisingly, they don't.
No. And so now, your family is what? What's your mom? What's your dad?
My mother's excuse me, my mother's from Scotland.
There's either a margarita and
That's just what you need when you're choking, a margarita.
or water.
My mother's from Scotland and my father's Italian. Yes, that was our heritage. Yeah.
Wow, and they couldn't be more different then.
No, they couldn't be more different. I mean, it was the most odd sort of, because my dad was very outgoing. My dad was always, get out there, let people know you're a Leno. Go out there, talk to the people. My mother would say, don't be loud and don't call attention to yourself. That was my mom. My mom, as I said, grew up in Scotland, and there was nothing worse than being the center of attention. To my mother, having your name called out in public, that's why it's the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Because originally it was Tonight Show starring. My mother said, oh, starring. Oh, Mr. Big Star. You have to have your name all over. I got your name. So why do you say starring? Why do you have to name all over everything? I said it'll be Tonight Show with Jay Leno. But when I was a kid, we would go to the market and things, and I would run away from my mom, and I'd go up to the manager. I go, I'm lost. Could you page my mother? And they go, with Mrs. Catherine Leno. My mother, There was to hear her name on the PA, that was so embarrassing to her.
But, well, she must have changed she must have been proud to say, you know, this is my son when you were famous, right? I mean,
she never quite got it. I mean, if I had been in prison, she would have brought me soup every week. Or I could have the Tonight Show. There was really no difference.
Oh, I see.
You know. I remember once the first time I did Carnegie Hall. I'm at Carnegie Hall, and I invite my parents to come, and my parents are sitting like about 4 rows back, dead center. I could see them from the stage. I could see them, and my mother, the lights, So I'm on stage, and behind my mother are about 5 or 6 college kids. And at that time, I had done about 60 Letterman shows. And you had those certain routines, that people like to hear. So I started this one routine I'd done a bunch of times. I see these guys like this. And, they're just college, and they're laughing because they know what's coming. And my mother turns and goes, shh, shh. And I stopped the show. I go, stop. I go, Ma, you don't shush people at a comedy show. And like, That's my mother to be singled out in Carnegie Hall. She's like hiding beneath the chair. This couldn't have been more embarrassing.
And she was quieting your audience down.
That's what she was. When I made it big, the first thing I did was I bought my dad a new Cadillac. And I take my dad down to Wentworth Motors in Andover to get a Cadillac. It's got to be the white Cadillac with the red interior because my dad's Italian. And I always remember the salesman saying, Mr. Leno, you want the regular interior or the interior de elegance? So my father said, we want the interior de elegance. So he gets it, it's got the big poofy, velour interior. But my dad loved this Cadillac. But my mother was so embarrassed to ride. When they would go down the street, my mother would sit below the window level so people couldn't see him. And this was before cell phones. So my dad would, what are you doing? Will you sit up? Will you sit up? And people would say, I saw your father talking to himself in the car. But when they would go, they would pull up to a light, and my mother was so self-conscious, she'd look over, and if she saw people looking at the car, she'd knock down, she'd go, we're not really Cadillac people. Our son got it. We're not Cadillac people. Our son, and my father, what are you telling people we're not Cadillac people for? And the people would be frightened and drive away. So
They sound like a lovely couple.
No, they were a lovely couple. They couldn't have been more suited. It was just, as a child, it was always funny to me to be caught between the two because they both wanted my attention, but in different ways,
Yeah.
And so, you want to please your mom, but you want to please your dad, and it was just a funny situation to be in.
Well, it's so funny too because when you get a lot of press, I mean, my mother cuts out she keeps every magazine, every single thing. And they must have been, I mean, I know you were on the cover of Time magazine, which must have been...
Yeah, that's a perfect example. I'm on the cover of Time magazine. So I call my mother in Andover, and I go, Mom, I'm on the cover of Time. Now which one is that, the Time? I go, it's Time magazine. Now, do we get that? Yeah, you get it, Ma. It's Time magazine. They had to go up to the newsstand. I said, and I said, listen, when you're up there, I said, call Aunt Edie in New Rochelle and call Aunt Faye in New Jersey and tell them I'm on the cover of Time. And there's this long pause, My mother says, I think they put you on the cover for the ones around here because people know you're from this area. But I don't know why they put you on the cover in New Jersey. I go, Ma, I'm not. She goes, I think it's just for this area. I go, Ma, they don't put you on the cover just for your area. I said, it's everywhere. I don't think so. Yeah, Ma, take my word, Ma. I'm on the cover everywhere. All right, I'll tell them, but I don't think, yeah, no, they are, Ma. Don't worry.
That's hilarious. Because that's the one, you want to please them. That's sort of, I mean, kind of why we all get into this business. There's something that we just want to go see, look what we're doing.
Oh, yeah,
you know?
no, and they were always very supportive. Although my mother never got the jokes. My mother would be, you know, she never quite understood what the joke. My mother would tell a joke like this. And so the man said, not with my wife. Anyway, this guy goes, you know, she'd always start with the punchline. You know the one about the man who said, not with my wife? No. Okay. And then the whole joke would be ruined. It would just be ruined.
Were they happy when they met? I mean, you're suddenly meeting famous people. Were they like, did that at least impress them? Like, oh, you know famous people, or?
Well, yes, I got Perry Como to come down from the stage and give my mom a kiss. I was a hero from that point on, because that was a real star, Perry Como.
Yeah.
They didn't know anybody knew. One time I was in New York, I was doing the Letterman show. I was on with Sting. So Sting was the featured guest, and I was the comic. So we're at the hotel, and we get on at like, I don't know, the 15th floor, and it's just my parents and I in the elevator. We get on like one floor, Sting gets on the elevator, you know, and I see this coming. So I go, Sting goes, oh, Jay, how are you? I said, hey, Sting, how you doing? I said, Sting, this is my mom and dad. Mom and dad, this is Sting. My father goes, Stingman? Stingman is your name? Stingman? I go, no, it's not Stingman, Dad, it's Sting. Sting? Sting is the boy's name? And then he says to him, what the hell kind of name is Sting? I go, Dad, it's like a show business. What kind of name is that? Oh, leave the boy alone. I don't want to find out. Now my dad is yelling at Sting in the elevator. I'm just waiting. And we're only on the 9th floor. There are 9 floors more to go. It's like a nightmare.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. We have to take a break. We'll be right back right after that. We're back with Jay Leno. It's weird to say that.
Huh?
It's just so weird that I say we're back with Jay Leno. Because, I mean, we did stand-up together years ago.
No, we go back a long way.
And it's very weird to be sitting here doing this with you. And now you have a book called If Roast Beef Could Fly.
That's correct.
And
look how thick it is. It's like a strip of Arby's roast beef, actually.
So, and now that we know a little more about your family, it doesn't surprise us. It's based on a true story.
Actual true story, yes. My
All
relatives
right.
will tell you. My dad threw the roast beef out the window.
And why?
Well, I should explain. As again, I had a half Scotch, half Italian family. And the Italian side, every meal was a huge, you know, I mean, gallons of sauce and hundreds of meatballs. And the Scotch side, when they would come, they couldn't be more offended by it. Look at the waste, Jamie, the waste in food. When I would go to my Aunt Nettie's house, she would give me a scone, which is like a Scotch cold biscuit, and a warm Coke. There's no reason to keep Coca-Cola in the refrigerator, Jamie. You wasted money. It tastes just as good. And she would take it out of the cupboard and pour me this warm Coke. So when I got any chance to have a big meal, it was like huge. So the particular story here was my dad was building a patio, and to celebrate, every time my dad did any chore around the house, everything would stop and we'd have to celebrate. Look, I put a new doorknob on. Look at this. Honey, come here, look at the knob. And everything was like that. So my dad built this patio, this flagstone patio, and we went out together and we bought a giant rotisserie. And my mom was going to cook this roast beef and have the whole family over. So the whole family comes over, and to make a long story short, my dad's cooking the roast beef, but I was a little kid, and I used to like to kind of, you know, stick your finger in the meat and get the juice, you know. But I couldn't reach the meat, so I took my comb out of my pocket, and I would like stick the end of the comb in, and I'm sucking the end of the comb. So what happened was, my mom had tied the roast beef up with string, and my comb got caught in the string, and I was like, oh. So now my comb is going around and around on the roast beef. So I just, you know, I'm a little kid, and I figured the best way to fix this, I'll run away. So I just run away, and I forget about it. So my dad, hey, the roast beef, come on, everybody, you know. So my dad carries this giant roast beef in, and he starts carving it, and he goes, what's that? And then clank, this big chunk of melted plastic falls off the roast beef, and it's all pink underneath. And my dad says, what's that? And I said, oh, it's my comb. Your comb? What's your comb? And he takes it, and he throws the roast beef out the window, and the whole family is like stunned, and then we look out, and the dogs have all torn the roast beef out. And that's basically the story.
Oh.
But you're gonna have to read the whole book.
Well, now we don't have to read it.
Now you
That's
have
the
to
whole
read the
story.
book.
How can there be more in here?
Actually, that's one of the few stories.
That's hilarious.
There's a million stories like that,
Right.
but that's just one of the ones in the book.
It's hilarious. Yeah, your family is is very funny.
Very,